The summer movie season is about to kick off, which is good because this year there have not been a lot of people going to the movies. My name is Ben Friedman, and today I'm going to be talking about the films that I predict to be somewhat big successes this 2025 for the summer. And here's the thing. I am not a financial expert. I am not going to pretend it. I don't even really care about the business of Hollywood. I am far more on the critical side of it. I am far more interested in what the artists are making, not how much they're making it for. However, in many ways, those two things have to go together because you need movies to make money for then the interesting films to be paid for. Like, you need a Minecraft movie to do well so you can get a Paul Thomas Anderson movie for $150. You need these big movies. You need Fantastic Four. You need the MCU to keep theaters afloat. So that's what I'm interested in. And I want to talk about it because I think this summer is going to be a litmus test for a lot of people and where taste is in Hollywood, at least as I see it. I look at the last year's top 10 and I noticed it's really boom or bust. And it is a lot of really high grossing movies, Inside Out 2, Deadpool, and Wolverine being over $600 million. And then number 3 is Despicable Me 4 at like $355 million. Like, there is a huge gap between that. And that's what we need to kind of be exploring, because if this is a boom and bust this year, but the boom just isn't as big, like, Hollywood could be in some real financial trouble this year. Now, I'm going to make the argument that I came in here and I'm like, ooh, I'm panicking. Like, I think this year is going to be a rough summer. And qualitative wise, like, it might be. Like, I noticed that I have a lot of question marks on basically all the films on this list. We'll get into that in this discussion. But outside of it, I'm like, actually, are a lot of these films just kind of promise to do solid business? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to go, typically I usually do this stuff 10-1. However, in an exercise like this, I just kind of think we all know what the top 4 or 5 are going to be. So I don't want to hold those. I want to just kind of start with that. And it's also kind of like what I think is going to be successful. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I need your guys' help when doing this. I'm going to basically give an over-under number that I am predicting. And you got to tell me if you think that movie will go over the number I'm saying or under the number I'm saying. So this is interactive. This is going to be kind of all of us participating and seeing what we think. So without further ado, let's talk about the summer movie season 2025. And let's kick it off with probably the biggest and most important film of this year. I am, of course, talking about Superman. This film will be opening up July 11th. This is the beginning of James Gunn's DC universe. I know he has the TV, like Commando, whatever that show's called. Like, I know that exists. I don't care. Like, that's not what we're talking about. Like, I am focusing on, this is the launch of this new version of DC. And this needs to work. They have invested so much into this. I'm guessing this movie is well over $300 million. They want this movie to do well. They need this movie to do well. This is like a future of DC's storytelling that Warner Brothers is counting on. And James Gunn has a lot riding on this, because if this movie doesn't work, they might be in for like doomsday. So I want to talk first about the competition. I'm going to do this for all 10 of the films. Superman is going to be competing up against Jurassic World Rebirth, which will come out 9 days before. 2 weeks later, it has another superhero movie in Fantastic Four, The First Steps. That is like very interesting to note because, you know, if like people just kind of hold out like for Fantastic Four, like if they do that thing where early reviews start coming in for Fantastic Four, and then you see the reviews for Superman being a little lukewarm, like Superman could really tail off quick. Like, I think this movie is going to have a big opening weekend, but it might not sustain it. And also, like, if Jurassic World is like 9 days before, like, there is a huge chance that that movie just like kind of keeps eating into Superman. Here's what I said, though. I do have it at number 1. And I wanted to kind of just come up with some box office comps for it. That's how I'm doing this. I'm trying to be as analytical as I can. I'm trying to think of what would be relevant examples. I just want to say with most of my examples, they're all post-COVID, like 2022 and on. Anything around COVID/pre it's just like a different world to me now, and I don't even know if it's analytically interesting anymore / relevant. I think we have to be looking at a post-COVID time. So the box office comp I thought of was the 2022 film The Batman, Matt Reeves' The Batman. If that movie got to 370 million and Superman crosses that or reaches around 370 million, is Warner Brothers happy? And that's a huge question. I don't know. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which was the last James Gunn movie, got to 349 million. So let's just kind of say it played around that like 350 to 380 range. Is that okay for the studio? It might be, because obviously there's different streams of revenue, how they get in. Obviously this movie is probably going to make some decent money on merchandise. It will be playing on HBO. Like, it's going to get all of that, and it might, do fairly well international. Now, secretly, I bet the number they are hoping for, Warner Brothers, would be like thrilled if it gets to 636 million. That's the number Barbie got to in 2023, and last year that's the number Deadpool and Wolverine got to. I bet they kind of think they can get it. Like, if they sell this movie right and it has the right amount of positive buzz, and it is like this feel-good movie that like everyone can enjoy and like, speaks to a moment in time and like really energizes people in that. Like, I could see Superman meaning a lot to a lot of people, and, truth, justice, the American way, like all of that. Like, yeah, I could see that being potentially powerful. I doubt it's getting to 636 million, but I also think this movie's probably going to be good. I have some hesitations on it because it looks a little too jokey. And then I thought a lot about James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, which is a movie that I actually think is extremely sentimental and also works in its action and in its comic book genre-ness. So I'm like, you know what? Like, if he could do that with The Suicide Squad, why can't he do it with the most earnest character in the DC universe? So, like, if I am saying that I think this movie is going to be good, and because typically James Gunn makes really good superhero movies, like, I have this predicted at somewhere between like 450 to 500 million. I think they'd be very happy with that number. And again, that would be down. Disney had 600 and I think it's 50 million for Inside Out 2 and 630 million for Deadpool and Wolverine. So obviously that's 150 million less, but like, I think they'd be happy if Superman got to that. Like, I think they could really feel established that this does it well. And I should just mention all these numbers are domestic that I'm throwing out. International is just way too weird to do, especially with anything of tariffs that could be possibly coming in and just like causing like chaos everywhere. That's also a huge question. Like, what does the economy have in store the next few months with the president that we have in charge doing all this? I don't know. It could be impacted. Number 2 on this list, and I'll go a little bit faster. I have the Fantastic Four First Steps. July 25th is when this movie comes out, a full 2 weeks after Superman. And I think that's really the only competition. I don't think really anything of huge note is going to come out post the Fantastic Four. There will be movies here and there. Like, there's certainly movies that will do well, but I don't think anything that has the potential to like cross above really 100 million is coming out post that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe The Naked Gun does really well. But regardless, with that said, what's the box office comp for this movie? I looked at Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, 411 million. I think that was the last MCU movie that had a really good hit, came out post-COVID, wasn't like this hugely established franchise in the sense that like it wasn't Guardians 3 wrapping up that trilogy. It wasn't Deadpool and Wolverine with the return of X-Men characters. Sorry, that was bad. And like, I don't think it has the same Captain America Brave New World syndrome that we'll be talking about when we get to Thunderbolts, where it's like, who are these characters? Why do I care? Like, Fantastic Four First Steps, I think people have an awareness of this movie. I think Pedro Pascal has a certain like draw to him. And I think the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is Doctor Doom and he may show up in this movie could potentially get this movie pretty high. So like, I don't think, again, that it's necessarily going to hit 636 million that Deadpool and Wolverine hit, but like, I could see this movie doing well. Like, I could see this movie performing much better than in the Multiverse of Madness, which was like a big success when that movie came out. I have this movie somewhere around like 500-ish million. It's kind of around the same place that I have Superman. I just think Superman has more room to grow. Where I think Fantastic Four would really be, I'd be shocked if it capped out higher than 500 billion, where you could tell me Superman hits higher. Like, that's kind of how I have it. So I just have more confidence, I guess, in a Superman film breaking over 500 million. Regardless, I'm going to set the number. Let's do it like 475 domestically. So tell me in the comments, is this movie going to hit 475 over or under? And while you're in the comments, subscribe to this channel. You know, I had to throw that in there. Number 3. Let's talk about this one. I almost had it at number 2. I changed it kind of last second. I have Jurassic World Rebirth, which will be coming out July 2nd. Let's just kind of talk about the competition because it is kind of important. Superman is coming out 1 week later. And then 6 days earlier, I think we have F1 is the movie that we'll be competing against. So, like, if F1 becomes a phenomenon, and we're going to have to talk about F1 later on, I have a lot of reservations on that movie and that film's potential of success. But, like, the real big thing that I'm like, is Superman just going to eat at it? And, like, the comp that I thought of was a few years ago, and we'll get to a Mission Impossible movie, but I should just mention it now. Like, I thought about Mission Impossible 7, and then a week later, the phenomenon that came, Barbenheimer. I don't think that would happen to Jurassic World Rebirth. One, because Superman is one movie, not two juggernauts coming out on the same day. But, like, is there a world where Superman just, like, explodes and Jurassic World takes a hit? I certainly think there is. Now, the box office success of Jurassic World has been a steady one. And I'm just taking out 2015 Jurassic World. I think that was such a huge phenomenon. But I looked at Fallen Kingdom from 2018, 417 million. I then looked at Dominion, saw that in theater, was terrible, 376 million. So I was thinking about this a lot. And this is also where I need your help. And I was just like, one, I actually think this movie could be good. I don't think the trailers have looked particularly good, but the guy who directed this movie, whose name I'm blanking on right now, I cannot believe I'm blanking on it, but he also directed Rogue One, and he just did The Creator. I think he is such a visually engaging director, and this is what he does well, and he's not writing this movie, which is, I think, what he has done worse in those movies. So, like, the fact that we have someone who understands how to work with special effects excites me for Jurassic World, especially in a franchise that has just become special effects. I think Dominion 376 was obviously a good number for that. Post-COVID time, like, I'm putting Jurassic World Rebirth at about 400 million. I think Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, like, having real actors at the center of this movie, having actors that are a box office draw in themselves in Scarlett Johansson, in a Jurassic World franchise, 3 years since the last one, potential of a director who's really good at special effects in a movie full of special effects, maybe that word of mouth catches on. Like, it just doesn't seem that people are sick of dinosaurs. And even if Dominion was a little bit lower, I just kind of think this movie will be better than Dominion. And to be honest, I think it might just be better than Fallen Kingdom. Like, this looks kind of just like a straightforward Jurassic Park movie. And I think people would welcome that. So I'm putting the line at 400 million, over or under. Let's jump to my number 4. And I really debated this one. I have Lilo and Stitch coming in at number 4, which will be coming out May 23rd, the same day as another movie we'll talk about later. But the competition for this movie, 1 week later, will be Karate Kid Legends. I don't know what to make of that movie right now. It's also why I don't know if it's going to make the top 10 on this list. We'll get to it, but it's kind of like there's a few bouncing in those 9 through like 12 spots. The other big competition for this movie is like 3 weeks later, and that's How to Train Your Dragon, which is also a live action remake. After that, it's Elio, June 20th. So I'm just like, Lilo and Stitch just has all the time to be the kids' movie that people see Memorial Day weekend. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, Mufasa just earned $254 million. And I'm like, you know, I look at the original Lilo and Stitch, which earned 146 domestically back in 2002, which is obviously a number you kind of have to just throw away because I didn't adjust it for inflation, anything like that. Stitch is like a huge deal. And I think he's become a bigger deal since that movie came out. Like, he's only grown. And I think their advertisement for this movie is smart. They're doing exactly what they did in 2002. They're just kind of having Stitch be this disruptor. I think it's working. I think it's really charming people. Personally, Lilo and Stitch means nothing to me. Never really cared for this movie as a kid. I think Stitch is cute, but like I also find it quite annoying. Like, I don't know. Like, I was just at Disneyland. They have so much Lilo and Stitch merchandise. And let me tell you, everywhere you look in Disneyland, people have on Stitch gear. Like, just everywhere. This has to be one of the hottest selling commodities. Even if this movie doesn't perform as well as they're probably hoping for it, they're making their money back hand over fist, just being able to push out more Stitch merchandise. With that said, I kind of think this movie is going to do better than maybe some people are expecting. I was like, this movie's just kind of whatever, and like these have been diminishing returns for a while for the Disney live actions, but it's like Mufasa overperformed after initially looking like it was going to underperform. Snow White obviously underperformed, but that had a lot of like extraneous circumstances. Like, I just kind of put the line at Lilo and Stitch domestically for $200 million. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the movie will be at about $200 million. Would you be going over or under? I'd kind of go over on this one, which brings us to our number 5, which is the next live action film coming up. It's an animated movie that got turned into a live action. And I have a lot of thoughts about this. This is one that I really need your guys' help on. How to Train Your Dragon. June 13th. I'll be seeing that movie, I think, beginning of June. I just got information about a screener for that one. So the competition for this movie, 1 week later, the Pixar movie Elio will be coming out. Here's what I want to talk about. I wanted to bring up the box office for the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. $217 million in 2010. 2014, $177 million. 2018, $160 million. So my question is this a franchise that is growing? Like, is this movie going to be able to get closer to that like $200 million that the first movie made? Or is this movie going to kind of continue the trend of 160 and now maybe this movie's like 145 or 140? Like, I'm just not sure. And here's the thing. I think How to Train Your Dragon has become more popular. One, I think it has helped that 2018 was the last time we saw these characters, so it's been 7 years. People definitely have a nostalgia for it. I think the epic universe at Universal Studios in Orlando, like seeing Toothless in real life, like having that tangible, I think that is going to be magical for people. I think there's a huge appetite for stories with dragons at the center. Like, people are really into it, whether it's The Fourth Wing, whether it is How to Train Your Dragon, whether it's Game of Thrones. Like, dragons just seem to have a popularity, and it might even like build on that popularity when it is now in theaters and it feels realer with real actors like touching dragons. Like, maybe it does have that magic. So I'm not like ruling this movie out, and I have it at 190. I have it like somewhere in that range is what I'm thinking. So I'm saying 190. And I could also just kind of see this movie just falling flat. Now, from my understanding, the footage played really well at CinemaCon. And maybe that's all it is. And to be honest, this was never really my franchise. I like these movies. I saw the first two. I don't think I ever saw the third movie. I really remember liking the 2010 movie. But like, this isn't a huge thing for me. Now, I know I will be seeing it. I know my girlfriend like really enjoys this. Like, she has a Hiccup popcorn bucket from Universal Studios. So like, there's definitely love for this movie. I'm questioning if this movie is going to explode. And like, it does. It has so much boom potential. Like, if you told me this became the highest grossing film within the How to Train Your Dragon and it just plays so well as a live action, I wouldn't be shocked. And if you told me this kind of just like followed the Disney trends of movies that get turned into a live action and no one really cares and like the audience stops showing up, like, I also wouldn't be shocked. They greenlit a sequel for this. Universal already greenlit the sequel for this, implying that they have faith in this movie to perform well. So maybe they're tracking, showing something. Again, I have it 190 over or under. I'm going to take the under for now and then be proven wrong, I think. Number 6 on this list. And this one's an interesting one that we need to spend some time exploring because I'm actually differentiating on this one than other people are. I have Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which will be coming out May 23rd. And if any of you follow the box office, you might be thinking about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, or Dead Reckoning, I think is what that movie was called, Part 1, back in 2023, which grossed 172 million, which when you compare it to Mission Impossible 6 at 220 million and Mission Impossible 5 at 209 million, I think you could definitely see the downward trend. And I'll be honest, like, I'm really enthusiastic about this movie. I don't know how many like people my age like necessarily are like in love with these movies, like that they mean so much. I think they play to a little bit older of an audience, maybe like 10 to 20 years older than me. I also know Tom Cruise can deliver magic. And here's the thing that I am kind of like betting on. Mission Impossible 7 hit 172 million because the week after it came out, it hit the biggest juggernaut of all juggernauts, which was Barbenheimer, which just definitely cut into its box office. One, it took away IMAX screens from Mission Impossible, which was a big deal. Like Oppenheimer got the IMAX screens. Barbie just got such a huge audience. Like, I just kind of think the 172 million for Mission Impossible 7 was a bit of fluke. I don't know how much of a fluke it was, but I think it was enough of a fluke to make me feel comfortable that this movie could get close to 200 million, especially if this movie is truly like as great as I kind of hope it is. If this is a movie that kind of like cements the legacy of Tom Cruise in a Mission Impossible film, like if this truly is his last outing, I could see this kind of like giving us the works, like really proving it. Now it's a 3-hour runtime, supposedly. Like I'm on board, but you know, there could be a little bit of we've seen this before. We've been seeing this for the past few years. Like we're good and this underperforms. I'm going to say 190 for now. And like I said, I don't want to bet against Cruise, especially because I kind of really do think Dead Reckoning Part 1 was just like, it just went against the biggest phenomenon post-COVID for movies. Like, I just think that matters, and that really did cut into that box office. So I'm going 190 million. Am I crazy? Am I wrong? Tell me in the comments. Number 7 on this list. And this is where I really just started like throwing stuff at a wall. This is where the list changed like crazy. Because I know at one point I had this movie, I think number 9, and then it rose to number 8, and then I finally put it at number 7 because my number 7 dropped down a lot. Like, that's where we are for the last 4, which I think I just have a mess here. Number 7, I have Elio. The Pixar movie will be coming out June 20th. Its only competition is How to Train Your Dragon. However, that comes out 1 week later. Or before, sorry. It comes out 1 week before Elio. I don't know what to expect from this movie. Pixar is not seemingly advertising this movie. I don't know much about this movie. I haven't seen many trailers for it. I'm not seeing anything about it. Like Inside Out, they were promoting that movie forever. Like even Elemental, I remember seeing the trailer. I don't think I've seen the trailer for Elio. Like the only promotion I've seen for it is because I checked the San Francisco Giants like website for their promotions. And I know they're giving away an Elio shirt. I think like the weekend this movie comes out. Like that's really it. Like, so that's my question on this movie. And like How to Train Your Dragon, if that is a phenomenon, could this movie really be heard? Is this movie good? If this movie's great, like I kind of think Pixar would be really trying to sell people on it. And maybe the campaign's coming in like a few weeks and like we're going to start hearing reviews for Elio and like it just becomes the sensation. Like I could be completely wrong here, but I just look at like Elemental from 100. Sorry, I was looking at the box office for that. From 2023, I look at Elemental and I'm like 154 million domestically. That started slow. It kept having steam. Like, but again, people kind of liked Elemental. Like, I know a lot of people initially didn't like it, but I think that movie's cute. I like that movie enough. I don't know if the same is going to be true for Elio. Again, because I feel like if that was true, they'd be selling it a little bit more. And I don't know. Like, maybe Elio blows us all away, but like, again, I just kind of think they'd be selling it to us. So I have Elio at the line like less than I have Elemental. I'm putting it at like 145 million generously. And again, I could be just so off on this. Let me know if this is just like a steal and everyone's going over on this. I'm not sure on it. So that's my thought for Elio. Number 8. This one dropped a ton. I think at one point I had this movie like number 5 or 6. I had Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts Asterix is what the title of this movie is. This one's also interesting to me because one, I'll be seeing this movie in the next few days. I may or may not have a review for it. My Marvel reviews don't always do the best, guys, like just truthfully. So like maybe if I have something interesting to say about this movie, I might do a review for it, but like don't necessarily count on it. I'm sure I'll talk about it at some point on this channel. I will be having a video where I'm going through like the 10 most interesting movies of the summer of 2025, and interesting in the sense of like these are the non-big studio hits. Like these are the ones that maybe are original stories, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. With that all said, like back to Thunderbolts. Here's the competition for this movie, because it really doesn't have much competition until like Mission Impossible, Lilo and Stitch, May 23rd. The competition is Sinners, which just had a historic 6% drop in its second weekend. Like if Sinners can hold that, maybe it eats into Thunderbolts opening weekend. I kind of think it will be safe. I'm hearing good things about Thunderbolts. Again, I'll be seeing it in like the next 48 hours or so. So I'll see on that. If Thunderbolts is like good and like a solid like 2-hit run, or 2-base run, I should say. However you say that in baseball. I'm blanking on the expression, but basically if you can double, that's what it is. If you could double with this movie, I think Marvel would be really happy with that. The question is, are people going to see it after kind of the erosion of trust for Marvel? And obviously Deadpool and Wolverine proved a huge success. But like you look at Captain America, Brave New World, which made $200 million. And obviously like that's a decent enough number, except for the movie like probably cost somewhere between $300 to $400 million for Brave New World. So it's like, how good is that number? I don't think Thunderbolts had that type of production issues. I think the budget was much more controlled for it. So like that's good in favor of Marvel. But like that's also the question, like, is Thunderbolts going to get close to the Brave New World 200 million? And I think it's all quality questions. If this movie just gets instant, like people love this, people are so into this, they're digging it. People are like, you know what? This is a really good effort from Marvel. I like this movie. I want to support it. It has a lot of fun performers in it that I like. Then yeah, I think this movie has a lot of potential to grow. If this is kind of what I suspect this movie might be, where it's like, this is kind of a fun movie from Marvel. It's not bad. It's not great. Then I could see this movie kind of underperforming that Captain America 4 number at 200 million. And like, maybe it's around like 140, maybe even lower, like maybe 130. Like I could see this being in real trouble. So that's where I have it at number 8, where I'm just like, I just don't have a ton of confidence in Marvel right now. Number 9 is a movie that maybe some people are like, how's this not already on your list? I have F1. I have no clue what to make of F1. I legitimately don't. Like, are people going to see a Brad Pitt racing movie that looks exactly like Top Gun, made by the director of Top Gun Maverick? Like, this movie could be huge. This movie could be Top Gun Maverick. Maybe this movie is just explodes and everyone loves it and it's so good and like everyone buys into the thing and Brad Pitt's a movie star. I don't know. Like, I really don't know like what to make of it. Like, Brad Pitt is obviously a movie star. Brad Pitt has also had some not so great headlines the past few years. Does that hurt it? I don't know if it does, but like, I'm sure he's going to be a little bit more careful on the press tour. I'm sure he's going to like maybe not appear on all the press tours that he might typically do. He might get asked a few awkward questions. Like, that's kind of where we're at. So it's like, how much is Brad Pitt going to be able to sell the movie? How much does Brad Pitt sell movies? Like, we are banking on this idea of Top Gun Maverick. Like, that is what everyone wants this movie to be. And like, realistically, I looked at other movies and I'm like, okay, the best case scenario is kind of like a Mission Impossible film. And I look at like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which I talked about earlier at 172. I'm like, is that a good number for it? And again, like, we have to understand that like box office works differently. Like, Apple made this movie. They're going to be putting it on their service. Like, that has value and that will have value later on for them. And like, potentially this could be an awards movie if like, you know, below the lines, like we could see like all that stuff is in play. So like, I kind of think best case scenario, this plays like a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible film. I could also see it playing like Ford versus Ferrari, which is another movie with movie stars racing cars, which got to 117 million. And again, it's kind of the question of how much do people want an adult drama that has a lot of big spectacle action. I'm thinking Gladiator 2 is another good comp at 172 million. I really just don't know what the number is going to be. So I kind of just have it at like 125, 130 domestically. And that could be crazy low, or that might be really overselling it. I really don't know. I'm going to say I'll go, because I want Joseph Kosinski to have a big movie like this. I'll go over. I really don't feel confident about it, which now leaves me with my number 10, which I have a few movies listed. I have Karate Kid Legends as a possible movie. I have Ballerina, which is the new John Wick movie. It's a spinoff starring Ana de Armas as a possibility. I have 28 Years Later as a possibility. I have Megan 2.0 as a possibility, though I don't think that one's going to hit it. I have, is that all I have? I have The Bad Guys 2. I have question marks on The Naked Gun and Freakier Friday. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning between a few movies. I'm looking at either Karate Kid's Legends or Ballerina. Those are the two that I'm like questioning on my number 10. I almost want to just say Karate Kid Legends at the number 10 as kind of the surprise. I looked at it. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire was like the best comp I could think of, which made $113 million domestically. Like the first Karate Kid movie from 2010, the 2010 Jackie Chan one, I should say, $177 million. Like that's a really good number. I just don't know if this movie is going to do as well. I know Cobra Kai has been kind of like a TV phenomenon the past few years, but again, I don't know how big of an audience that movie has. So I just kind of see this just being the movie that could kind of rise more than the other ones. Like, so for instance, Ballerina. I looked at it, the John Wick franchise, Chapter 2, 92 million, Chapter 3, 171 million, Chapter 4, 187. I just think Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 are unobtainable. And from my understanding, this movie has like been reshot to hell. And like maybe this movie got stitched together and is good. And like Keanu Reeves is able to like sell enough of this movie. But like as a spinoff where Keanu Reeves is not the main focus, like I think this movie would be lucky to get to 100 million. So like that Chapter 2, 92 million seems like more realistic. Megan 2.0, the first one made 95 million. Here's the thing. Viral campaigning is not going to push this movie over again. I looked at another movie that had viral campaigning in 2022. Smile. $105 million for Smile. 2024 basically repeated that. We got $69 million. I think Megan 2.0, it's not going to be a failure by any chance, but I think that 95 million is going to drop. I wouldn't be shocked if this movie like caps out around like 65 to 70. Maybe I'm wrong. That's what I'm thinking. 28 Years Later was the interesting one because I'm like, could this one get over 100 million? I looked at Alien Romulus as 105 million from last year. I'm like, that's an interesting cop. A Quiet Place Part Day 1, 139. Like basically recognizable horror, studio horror with prestige stars in it. Like 28 Years Later certainly has that boom. And if this movie's like great, I could see that doing really well. I think that movie could play very well. And then like everything else, I just had question marks. Like, is The Bad Guys 2 going to beat the first film's gross of 97 million? I don't know. Maybe a kid's movie does so well that it can get over 100 million. This is really a race to, is there a movie that I could see far exceeding 100 million? And Karate Kid Legends, I could just see myself being surprised and being like, oh, there was an appetite and a fervor for this. So that's where I have it. I'm going to say like 110 million is what I'm predicting. So that means 10 of my films on this list, I have potential for getting over 100 million, which is more than what we could say for last year's box office, where it only had 9 films, with number 10 being The Fall Guy, which made 92 million, 11 being the Garfield movie with 91 million, Alien Romulus being 91 million. Did I have that number wrong for Alien Romulus? I'll have to double check that later, but Long Legs being 73 million and coming in at 13. Like, I think there's actually potential that this year's box office has a good medium. It just might not be extremely explosive high. I just don't think we're going to have Chew movies that gross nearly 700 million like we did last year with Inside Out, Chew, Deadpool, and Wolverine. That's my thoughts. Tell me where I went wrong. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you disagree with. And let me know, have you been to the movies recently? You like that? Have you been to the movies recently, or are you going to be going to the movies anytime soon? Let me know what you're watching in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. And again, I'll be back Thursday or Friday later this week talking about the 10 most anticipated original films. No IP, no sequel, none of that. We're talking about original films coming out this summer to get excited for. So thank you so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe to this channel. Bye-bye.